Toffee TV, it's Monday. That means we come in. Just a little disclaimer, if any time I just keel over, fall asleep, look like I'm dying, probably like now like I look like I'm dying, it's because I stupidly rode my bike to the studio in this heat and now instantly regret it.
I did, right, when you said you were going to cycle in, I did think probably not the best day to just decide to ride in.
Yeah, I've rode my bike for about a month. Yeah, just jump on the cycle path and come for a ride. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be sweating till tomorrow. I just feel like I need a shower and then I'll need another shower.
Cold shower. Just drink water, mate. Hydrate, most important thing.
Yeah, there you go. Right, got that out the way. Yeah, it is Monday, as we say. Obviously, we've already done a couple of signings. There's a third signing that everyone's anticipating, that everyone thought was done because I certain Mr. Paul Joyce, who is normally very accurate, sort of. Well, when I say accurate, he's normally, well, he is accurate.
Just very accurate.
Yeah, he gets told
very
things.
Good.
Very good sources. He puts them out there. He's not. You go on his Twitter account. He's not someone who just tweets all the time. No. There can be weeks between his tweets and he just put name signing tomorrow.
Done.
That's it. That's it. He just does it because he feels he needs to do it. He put out about Sandro, and like these things do, they spread like wildfire. You know, it goes from being formalities done, should be signed in 48 hours, to Sandro signed, and then it's Sandro, where is he? And the deal's gone awry because he's not here yet. But the simple truth is that it's just not done yet, is it? So therefore, you know,
not done because it's not done, is it?
No.
You know, there's all sorts of things that go on at the agreement. It's probably in place, but until it's done, it's done. And it's complicated because he's away with Spain. So if this was, I guess, if he was in this country or there was no tournament, Everton would have been able to tie it up very quickly. But obviously, because when players go away to these tournaments, you've got to get permission off for us to go and actually finish the deal. We'd have to get permission off the Spanish FA to speak to him, to get him out of them. And they've got a game. I think they're playing Portugal. Played Saturday night, and they're playing Portugal tomorrow night. So
and it doesn't need to be rushed at the end of the day.
So I think the problem is with us, because with us in the past, you worry, don't you? When it's out there, you worry and think, Spurs or Arsenal are going to come in.
I mean, it's not the reason I heard. The reason I heard was that Contract Dave was going to Governor's World, and that sort of slowed the deal down.
Maybe
you know, and then he's going to Governor's World as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Gulliver's World. I've heard that one, Gulliver's World. Yeah. But as long as he needed the break. You know, he's going to be busy this summer. He's already been busy, and he's going to be busier. So I was loving all the memes and everything yesterday. They were brilliant. But
he likes a bike ride as well.
He's been spotted with Jan Kluttenberg, hasn't he, and Big Ron. So
I need to get in that pack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you do very quickly. Yeah,
just get the fitness up. So I mean that one is as you said, you can have all the agreements in place, but until it's all done and dusted, it's not all done and dusted. And as I say, it spins out very quickly, because I think it was the Sky Sports commentator said, and it's Everton's new signing, Sandro.
On the game.
On the game, so none of it helps. None of it helps.
I think that the problem is the real issue is it's not done because it's not done. If it was done, Everton would have announced it.
Yeah, like they were picked.
Like it just been announced and done, so it isn't done. So people go, no, it is done, but it isn't done because Everton haven't announced it. So I think that's the problem. Saying it's all agreed. It can be all agreed, but everyone should be thinking about like Virgil van Dijk and stuff, and thinking when deals look like it's done and dusted, you've got to wait until that player's signed on the dotted line. And I'm quite sure everything is agreed with him, but until he's actually put his name on that contract.
And all that does is, it also, I suppose, which we found before, when people jump the gun, it alerts other teams. And I know other teams are not stupid and will have known, but you get that little bit of, well, we've seen it already, haven't we? We've seen it already. We've signed a couple of players, so everyone else, and we spoke about this the other day, everyone else's fans is like, why aren't we doing business? And then you see people like, we believe that West Ham are trying to sign Giroud, and it's like, so what? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make a difference, so you might get a couple of teams going, let's jump in, like Arsenal did with Perez last season. It was just a case of.
I'm saying that's the fear, isn't it? And that. I thought it's a weird one, this, because Everton have worked very hard on this deal, so it's come out somehow. It's got out there, and quite clearly it's gone to Paul Joyce and he's put it out. But until he signs, it's not done, is it?
No,
that's the way you can look at it.
Yeah, we just hope it gets done as soon as possible.
Yeah, because I think he looks like I didn't want us to sign last week anyway. Spread them out.
Yeah, it's not good for us.
But he looks like he looks like an exciting prospect, doesn't he? And I think it'd be a big statement. I think if Everton managed to get him. And
he's the club's #1 target as it comes to a striker by the looks of it, by the work they've put in.
Yeah, well, I think he's one of them.
Well, yeah. But you know what I mean.
But I think what I'm saying. You're right, because they have put a lot of work in. But I think the reason with it is because he does play it right across the front. He's not just like the way like Ron's just like an out and out striker. Say, this fella can play as the 9, or he can play either flank, and that having that versatility is massively important. Isn't it?
Seen something as well. I don't know if you've seen it. It was tweeted out there. It was only from a Spanish newspaper, but they were saying that he'd received assurances that Lukaku was going. So therefore he would be.
Really?
But yeah, it's seen come out of a Spanish newspaper saying that he yeah. But I don't really think that would affect, because as you just said, if we had Lukaku and we had him, I think they'd play together.
Of course.
Because I think the manager would see him as a player he could put out wide, something that he's wanted to do, and not really have the players. And the only time, and when we have had those players, it's worked. I think we said around January and February time, when we stopped using wingers as wide strikers, we started getting a little bit more joy. And that's when it started clicking a little bit more. So I think he'd fit well into that. So that's Sandro. Obviously there's a rumour going around about Moussa Dembele from Celtic, not from Spurs obviously, who, well, he's much wanted. He had a great season last season for Celtic.
32 goals.
A player that really we should have had a little sniff at before he went to Celtic, because the opportunity was there.
It was.
There's loads of rumours about him. Can't really put our finger on this one, can we? Because it doesn't. I don't know. Something doesn't quite add up. I'm not saying the people who said he was a Finch Farmer liars by any means. It just doesn't quite. I don't know. Doesn't all seem to fit together.
He could have well. I honestly don't know if he was a Finch fan. He may have been there. I don't know. Is he a good player? Would I have him? Yes, I would have him. Should we have bought him when he went to Celtic? Yes, we should have got him January 16 on deadline day when his move to Tottenham fell through. It midday he was available. He was touted around for £5 million, and we ended up buying Nias about 4 or 5 hours later for £13.5 million. So we could have had him then. We could have had him. I think we should have been into him, because he then ended up going up to Celtic, where he's done brilliantly. He's done very well up there. I suppose the question mark is 32 goals up there. What does that translate to down here? But I think I'm right in saying he had some like 19 or 21 in the Championship for Fulham before he went up there. So he's got a lot of goals. He's a physical kid. He looks like he's quite quick. Again, you'd be moulding him, I suppose. So it'd be maybe a little bit like when we got Rom. But if you're talking about Romelu Lukaku going out, and we don't know if that's going to happen, because obviously there's a lot of politics going on at Chelsea. He would be one that you'd probably want to try and get in and put him in that role.
And for me, I think he fits actually what we're looking for, because he is, like you just said, he's coming. You don't know what you're going to get, but he's just had a great season. And I think the last one we were sort of oohing and ahhing about with Celtic was Van Dijk. And I think sometimes in Scotland it is hard to judge. I suppose it's like Holland in that way.
Yeah.
It is hard to judge whether I mean, maybe it's hard for maybe us to judge, but I think if you're a proper scout and you know exactly what you're looking for, then I think it'll be easier. But I do think those players who really do rise above, you know, who really are the cream of the crop in those leagues, do need to be taken seriously as players. Because you can, like, you look at Celtic, they've just bought some kid from Aberdeen. Now, that's what they do. They'll buy the best in the league. And I think this season, not only are they much better than everyone else because the resources and stuff, and because said that wrong. Everyone else is shite. Let's be honest. Everyone else is, you know, if I'm going to say properly, everyone else is really, really poor. I mean, Rangers have just come up from and they finished third, and you know what I'm saying. But they've got those players who could probably win them the league, and then they've got those little extra bits on top because they can attract them because of the Champions League. Even someone like Scott Sinclair had a brilliant season up there, but Dembele to me just looks like he is just that little bit better than everyone else, and I think he'll move. I don't know if he'll move this summer because he does have the Champions League to look forward to next season if he stays. But will that be enough when you've just?
Is that big a draw straight off the bat? If you're playing, I can kind of understand Lukaku. Right, he's been at Everton for 4 seasons. He was at West Brom, so he's had 5 years of playing in the Premier League, scoring a lot of goals, and we're not. We don't seem to be getting any closer to winning anything. That, you know, we'll forget the fact he fluffed his lines at Wembley and all that. Well, he did, didn't he, in the semi-final? He was terrible. But he scored a lot of goals, so you can kind of go, all right, he's had 5 years not playing at that Champions League level. He wants to go there and do it. Dembele's still kind of making his way in the game, so. Yeah, he's had the season at Celtic playing some. You know, he played Champions League game, scored against City, didn't he? He had 2 against City, I think. He's had to go there. Would that be enough to make him just carry on at Celtic to go, I'm back in that conversation again? Or to go, you know what? I can go to the Premier League here now and start trying to tear it up in the Premier League.
I mean, the way to look at it is, if he goes in, if he gets in don't forget it's an if they get in the Champions League, because obviously they have to have the qualifier. Last season, I think they just scraped through it. I think if I remember, I think they might have only just got 2 away goals last season, or maybe the odd goal. I'm not sure.
They got beat away by the Partizan, the Gibraltar team.
That's what I'm going to say. Did they have to play 2 qualifiers as well? I'm not sure. And then they get 6 guaranteed Champions League games. Then, and obviously last season they played some decent games. But they'd be hard pressed to get past the group stage, and you just think. He's a lad who's he's won everything at Celtic, but I think that's actually could go against him staying there, because if you've won everything, then what is there to do?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's I suppose you got to call, like, it's the sort of people have been saying about like Paris Saint-Germain, but at least, you know, they didn't win the league last season. At least there's a bit of a challenge now in France, which means that they're going to have to sort of stop messing about and actually go again. You know, where like sort of Paris Saint-Germain version 2 sort of without that, and they're going to have to go and get some big players now if they can get them, and then that should help them in the Champions League. But if you look at him and you think, well, he might be ready for another challenge now, he might be ready for a Premier League team, and we just might be that team. And don't get me wrong, I do think that the teams above will look at him, because I do think he's got something. I think he's worth taking a risk on. I think Liverpool would probably look at him, possibly Arsenal as well would look at him. But I definitely think we should be in for a kind of player like him. I'm not saying it's a statement player, but I do think that he's of the calibre of, certainly his power, his pace. He maybe not like he's a Lukaku replacement, but he could be 1 or 2 that replace Lukaku, if Lukaku leaves, of course.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why I suppose again that's where like Sandro Ramirez would fit in as well, if he does, comes in and plays up the line, because you want those final areas, you want 3 strikers really, or certainly someone midfielder who can get a lot of goals to play in there, but you definitely need 2. And he'd be a good sign. I mean, it's not even, it is a gamble, of course it's a gamble, because every player you sign's a gamble, but he's someone I feel you could mould. You know, and when you look around and think, well, who are the replacements for Ron, say, if he is to go, who is there? And you look and go, Iniacio at City, scores some goals, he looks like a good player, but you know, he'd be one, young, hungry. Dembele's another one. Then you start going, alright, Giroud. No, I'd have Olivier Giroud, no problem, because you get your 15, 18 goals and he's powerful. He's not really like for Romelu Lukaku. He's not going to run channels, he's not pacey, but if you stay in the middle, he will score your goals. Whereas Dembele's got that movement, and so's Iniacio. And I just wonder if, you know, there's Jorgensen's been mentioned over in Holland, so's Dalbert, you know, but again, they're similar, they're ones where you're looking and going, can he out of that? So if you're going to take a chance on Jorgensen or Dalbert from Holland, then Dembele, you may as well take a shot on Dembele, who's actually done it in the Championship as well, which is a tough league. He scored, you know, like I say, I'm almost certain he got 21 goals for Fulham before he moved. So that's an interesting one. Whether or not Steve Walsh is sat with him, it remains to be seen at the moment, because it does. But he would be one. Yeah, I'd be interested in taking him, most definitely. I think, like you said, we'd have a little bit of competition. To try and get him in. Yeah, definitely. But you would have thought so. Yeah.
Another player that we've been linked with over the weekend, that we've been linked to him for a while, is Gylfi Sigurdsson from Swansea. Swansea have actually said that they've received no bids for him, but there's talk of £40 million. Is that where we are now?
Swervio.
But unfortunately, that does actually feel like where we are, though, because the prices are
40 million.
I know it's
Gylfi.
I know. Listen, I don't set the prices. You know.
No.
But the problem is that has he got 4 years left on a contract, something like that?
Yeah, signed a new one last November.
Yeah, so he's still so he hasn't sort of made any fuss about moving either. So
he's 27.
Yeah.
£40 million.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
He's not pacey. Good, very good player, but I would. It's not my money, but I would struggle with that a little bit.
To be honest, I'm not one of these people who says, you know, how much have you paid for him, or, you know, even when we signed Balassi, or when we signed Ashley Williams, or now that you know Pickford, it doesn't bother me. When I hear other people going, how much is it going, like talking about other players from other clubs and how much, it doesn't. It's not my money, and I know people will say, well, it is your money because you pay your tickets, but ticket prices are coming down, so it's more TV money. It's probably actually I should be moaning more as the TV prices go up to watch it on, you know.
But I think you've got to, you're right. You know, you can't get hung up on just paying 30 million quid for a keeper. But you've got to look. I mean, the Ajax captains only cost us 24 million. Only, by the way. And yeah, Gylfi Sigurdsson, £40 million. I think you've got to have a semblance of realism, because otherwise, other players then, at every other club you go to, is like, oh, Dembele, all right, 50 million then for Dembele, and you're going, oh, right, so it's no point Machiri going, there's 200 million to spend. So 3 or 4 years ago, we'd have had the best of the best for, you know, Sergio Aguero was 29 million or something, you know, so you'd have the best of the best. If it's 200 million and every player signs 40 million, that's only 5 players. You know, so there's got to be a bit of realism. That to me is way too much. If they wanted Ashley Williams back, then like 22 plus Ashley Williams or something like that. Maybe 25 plus Ashley Williams, something like that. Or Nias, 20 million in Nias.
I think Nias would actually be a good sign. If Gomez is leaving them, I think someone like Nias, and I'm not taking the mick now, I think Nias actually fits the sort of Swansea framework. If you could give them him and give them like Ashley Williams and give them 20 million quid,
I think Nias would be alright for them.
That's what I'm saying. I honestly think he would.
He'd get double figures for him.
I think he'd do very well for a club like that.
That's 7 for Hull or 6 for Hull. He'd get double figures with Swansea if over the season. But that's what you've got to look at. You've got to be a little bit creative as well. You know, we're going to do video on Gerard Delafay, but that kind of thing as well, where you get money back in, that pushes FFP up in terms of your wage structure as well, so you're able to stretch on wages. I just think Sigurdsson's a very good player, and I'd be delighted for us to get him, but 40, no. I'm just not happy with 40 million.
I mean, it's
30 maybe.
That could be a number that's just plucked.
Oh, of course.
I mean, just like you say, no, it's not even a case of, and we've seen this, as the prices go up, then the prices of everyone goes up, and you just see some utter shite being sold for some ridiculous amount of money, and you just think, because then, you know, everyone then, you know, you go to
everyone's got money then, haven't they? Slosh, you know, everyone then, there's no real bar then, because you're just buying, you're paying whatever.
But you're using monopoly money, aren't you?
Liverpool, look, people are giving Liverpool stick at the moment over Salah and all that, and okay, if he's their main target, then maybe they should stump up the money. But I understand why they're hesitating and going, well, hang on a sec. Every time you come back with a figure, you put extra money on it, and so no one really gets anywhere. And again, I suppose, we look at Sigurdsson and then you go, Sandro Ramirez, if you can get it for 5 million quid, it represents massive value. So you'd look and go, well, he's worth 15, so then Sigurdsson becomes 30. That you can kind of...
I suppose that what you've just been talking about with like someone like Salah, that's a case of the player really, really wanting to leave the club and go and sign for a new club. But the rather than saying you're not for sale, rather than saying you're not for sale and therefore you're not leaving, it's just brinkmanship, isn't it?
I just think you'd have to be cautious with it. I think you do, because something else might present. You know, if you spend 40 million quid. But telling me you can't go and get someone out of Italy who's just as good,
and that's the problem, isn't it?
Higher level,
because in the Premier League, we're just like going up and up and up. And I know we are culprits as well. John Stones, let's be honest, we absolutely rinsed City for him,
but we didn't want to sell him, did we?
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's a case of we didn't want to sell him, so therefore, what do you want to give us for him? And City give us, and that, I suppose that's the difference, isn't it? If Swansea don't really want to sell, then that will be the price.
Will you be devastated if we don't get Sigurdsson? Or do you really want him?
I don't really want him.
You don't. You really
no, I don't really want him. I don't mean I don't. Not that I don't want him.
Yeah.
I'm just, to be honest, I'm not sitting here wanting anyone, as in terms, do you know, that might sound silly, but I'm not sitting here going, I'll be devastated if we don't get him and don't get him. I'm just letting the club do the business this summer, because I feel like the people in charge, it's not like other times where like we sat here 18 months ago when we bought Niasin, and since we found out that everybody warned Martinez not to sign this player. We now know that it's not a transfer committee, but there's a process and the due diligence, and the manager and Steve Walsh have got a system that seems to be working, and an owner who, a majority shareholder, who has his finger on what's going on because of his background. He knows how it all works in a way, and because he's been at Arsenal, he's probably been looking. So I'm not like right up there, but he's been working it all out and seeing how it all develops. And so
he wanted this. Don't forget, he wanted this system. Bill Kenwright didn't want it. The old Everton board didn't want this. This popped up a couple of times.
Because you have to pay another person.
But this popped up a couple of times over the last few years about the potential of having a director of football. He didn't want it. Mashiri come in, wanted it. Yeah. Wanted it very quickly, and that's why he went after Monchi.
Why did he want it though?
Well, because he wanted a process. He wanted someone who was answerable for stuff. He wanted someone... Go on. No, go on. Well, you've got the theory, so go on.
Because he'd seen the best people doing it. David Dean,
yeah,
and Arsene Wenger. Wenger, maybe not in the same sort of way.
No, but I know what you mean.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He'd seen this brilliant duo.
Dean was fantastic.
Well, Dean was the business, was the closer. Wenger was like almost like the manager and Walsh. He was the scout and he was the manager. Dean went and done the business. Now, all right, it's not exactly the same with Everton, I don't think, but I think that's what it represents.
I think where we get it does, and that's what you needed. You don't need, no disrespect to the people who were doing it before. You need specialists. Do you know what I mean? Like the same way Steve Walsh wouldn't go in and do, corporate stuff and everything else. He's a football man, Walsh. He's being hands-on on the training pitch with Leicester as well as coaching and stuff. He's got a good eye for a player. He's got a massive network now. Mashiri trusts him. And that, that, like you said, that's why he wanted Monchi. Because Seville, it worked absolutely brilliantly at Seville. That's what he wanted. Like you just said, there's evidence that it works. He wanted someone who answered to him. No good going, if it was Bill Kenwright and Robert Elstone, like, we want this, where are we up to with that plan? They're like, we've put a bid in, and I'm not saying this happened, but you know what I mean, we put a bid in, we're going to haggle over it. He's got Steve Walsh now, who he can bollock over it, whereas beforehand, it was, would have been Bill's still the owner. How'd you bollock someone? Why isn't this getting done? You heard Bill Kenwright give you that little snapshot when they had the AGM, and he went, this fella wants to buy everyone. Right, and Mashiri sat there like that because he's seen how it happens. Walsh has come in, everything's there, Steve Walsh go after him, and what's happening now is Ronald Koeman and Walsh sit down, bang, 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 and there seems to be a real process now, and the stuff we're getting back is that everything is well organised. He's seeing it. Look at the Klaassen signing. He's the Ajax captain, and now I know Ajax aren't at the very top, but he's the cap. He's just gone and got the captain with. And his signing has almost not gone under the radar, but it's just been like, oh yeah, we've just got the Ajax captain, by the way. Pickford's got more of the thing, of course, but those two are done. And this is the problem, what happens as well when it happens like that, is people just go, right, on to the next one, as if you hadn't signed them. Do you know what I mean? Now I know that we all want that. We all want signing after signing, but there's a process. There's not running in and scattergunning everything.
But what I would say is you do feel like, though, that by the time it does get to the latter end of the deal, Walsh is on to the next one.
Oh yes,
that's what I'm saying. It's like a conveyor belt. Like he's already like when we seen him in Italy last week, it was because these were done. So he's moving on to the next one. He was moving on to the next one, and who knows what point he is on. But that's where I'm coming back and saying that when we say, this player and that player, I'm not too worried. I'm letting them sort of. I'm not saying you sit here and go, well, that manager can literally do what he wants, but I think you have to give them.
It's not to do with us, is it?
Yeah.
We're just there to go. Love him as a player because he's exciting and like him as a player. And you look and go, getting back to Dembele, you look and go, he looks exciting. He looks like someone who could come into our team and score. Now, okay, he might get 25 goals like Ron, but he might get 15, 18. And if you complement that, if Sandro Ramirez don't come, and you get that, you might get 10 off him, and that's how you plug the Romelu Lukaku problem. Yeah. If he is to go, but like I said before, if people aren't going to pay that money for him, he's still going to be here whether he likes it or not.
Well, I think we spoke about it last week. I do think it is. They are trying to get those essential players in very, very quickly, and then it might be a case of. It might be a case of just getting the fillers in then. The other one we're linked with is Michael Keane, who, again, you feel like it might be hopefully done sooner rather than later, because, again, we need a centre-back and we need to get that done quickly to get in front of other clubs. And, again, there's been a lot of talk that might be the next one. Because that feels like actually that should be the next one rather than Sigurdsson or if Sandro does get done this week, then you'd like to think that Keane would be the next one to be done. So then we've addressed 4 different positions on the pitch, and hopefully, but it's, as I say, it's hard to sort of, because they're working in the shadows. They're doing things their own way. They're doing things very quietly, and as you say, you see Walsh in Italy it's not like there's been a flood of bids come out.
No.
It's just that he's over here just seeing what's what. Italy, they're all selling clubs apart from Juventus. They're pretty much all selling clubs now.
And yeah, we've been linked with 2 of their players. But yeah.
So he's trying to get
fact finding what's available. They'll have their list of positions, players they want, and then it's like what else is available, what else who can make a difference. Now, what used to happen under Moyes done everything, wanted to control everything, and I think the biggest thing I suppose used to annoy me about David Moyes was he'd take it personally if he couldn't get a player, and then he'd almost sulk basically and down tools for a bit. So whereas this, say like we went for Dembele and Celtic went not selling, or if the player went to want to go to Liverpool or Tottenham or whoever, well, you get the feeling Walsh should go right Iñárritu, say, just because he's a name, we'll go on to him now. David Moyes would sulk for 10 days over that, and all that time's passing, and then you go like, we've just wasted 10 days now. Who do you want now? So fact finding again, and the whole process. Now I know if David Moyes would have had a bit more freedom, money wise, it might have been a bit different. He might have gone, well, I want him, and if we can't get him, I'll get. But he didn't. He was almost too stubborn. Then last minute go, I want him, and it was just never possible to get them in. And Martinez would be offered players like Jack Butland and Virgil van Dijk and Dembele and choose Nias and Funes Mori and other people. So therefore it does look as though everything is in place to do it correctly, and they will be working on Michael Keane. Just getting back to him, I think he'd be a really, really good addition to us. I think he's at a great age. He's 24. I think we've been the front runners on it all along. I know United were keeping their options open, and the kid probably, even though I feel as though he wants to come to Everton, he possibly would have gone to United because he's a United fan. But I think I get the feeling Everton have always felt they're in there strongly anyway, so it wasn't cutting to head. So with them kind of out the way, because they brought Lindelof in, I feel as though that one will progress. I don't know whether he's away at the minute, and so
possibly
that's why that may be what a delay is. I don't know, but you would think, and there's a lot of stuff that's come out, and a lot of different journalists have carried it. Paul Joyce has mentioned it, and Dominic King and other people have mentioned it. So you feel as though that one will
some legs in that one.
There's definitely legs in it.
Yeah.
But I feel as though.
And I suppose the other thing that helps with that is that Everton have always been in. There's that. Everton have been there since. We want you. We want you to play centre half for us. We want you to be in the team. We've not changed on that. We haven't come in late because we've missed out on someone else. You're our number one centre back target. And this is you're part of the new team that we're building.
There's been a rumour today, and I haven't had a chance to check it out, but McCarthy to Burnley, and Keane to Everton. So I don't know whether James McCarthy would want to go to Burnley. I don't know, but that's one that's bobbing around today, which would be. What's your thoughts on McCarthy? I know he's shown evidence that what the real pity about him is, if he could stay fit, I think would have a great
it's not
job
that he could stay fit. It's if he give himself a chance to be fit, and obviously we've done the whole Ireland thing to death and got into trouble with a few people. We have our Irish views, of course, but the point being, and when we said at the time, was he's an Everton player, and he's obviously got problems with his body, and he has to adapt and deal with those problems. You do not adapt and deal with those problems by making yourself available every time there's an international window when you're not fit. And therefore he missed. How much of the season did he miss? And I'm not putting it all down to the blame.
4 games.
I'm not putting that down to Ireland, but what I'm saying is he should not have made himself available for that game. He gets injured in the warm-up and we don't see him for the rest of the season. So can he be trusted? Does the manager trust him enough? If the manager has sat down with him, or will sit down with him, or whatever, and say, listen, I need your commitment on this. The manager said he wants to keep him. He said, if he sat down and said, I need your commitment on this, that if you're not fit, we have a discussion, before there's an international, and we get this sorted. If that's done, then then I'll happily get on with it. Because I think...
What's your feelings about him now?
I think he'll go. Because I just think the manager might have had enough of him. And I might feel...
A pity, because he's a decent player.
Yeah. But I also feel like his career's tailed off at Everton. And I think that says a lot about him more than it says about anyone else. I just don't feel like... I don't know, it's just weird.
I felt as though when he first come in, I looked at him and thought, he's going to be our captain. Because he was everywhere.
I thought he was going to be Man United's captain.
But he was everywhere, wasn't he? He was all action, wasn't he? He was everywhere, and you just thought, good player this. And now, I'm at the stage where if that deal is true, keen for that, just be like, yeah, it's right.
But I also look at him, and I look at what Garner does, and I look at what Schneiderlin does, and I just think, you can't do that. And maybe he could do what Garner does if he limited him. If he was in a 3 and he had to limit himself a little bit, or maybe he could play right back, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I think I've always said, and I do. I always said he could play further forward and could be a box to box, but maybe those injuries have just took the toll on him. So I don't know. Again, as I say, that'll be up to the manager. And if an offer comes in and it sort of helps, like you've just said, if Burnley came in for him and we just went, okay, you can have him and we'll give you 5-10 million for Keane, then job's done. If that satisfies
I don't think he'd be, because he didn't play last season, played a handful of games, he's not going to be a miss, because you haven't seen him. Obviously Bezic is coming back and we don't know whether he's going to be good enough or fit enough or whatever, but he's to go in.
See, with Bezic though, just very quickly, between the two players, I don't think Bezic is as good as what McCarthy does defensively, but at least with Bezic you can say he's got something a little bit different. I mean, when Bezic plays and plays at the other end, like the top end of the pitch, he's got great feet. His attitude's spot on, but he's another one, he can never stay fit. Is that because of the way he plays? I don't know. Is he good enough? I don't know ultimately, because again we haven't seen enough of him. But we'll just have...
So if you were the manager, you'd look at them two and go, well, the pair of you, I got 5 games up the pair of you.
Yeah.
So one of you can go. Big wage, decent wages, one of you can go. Who's the more saleable probably at the minute? Probably McCarthy. Because people still look and go, he's a good player. And I suppose if there is any legs in that Burnley want them, that could be a way to get Keane done. I think for me, Keane, I was very, very impressed with him last season, and I thought when he comes to Goodison, I thought he was really good. So was Mick, he played alongside him, to be fair, but I thought he looked good, and I like the fact that he's a big lad as well, give us that little bit of physical presence as well. But I think I honestly believe we need 2 centre backs.
No, I do.
Don't think there's any question about it. Because there's a Jack's room at the Sheffield United.
There is, yeah.
So
there is.
That'll be interesting, but no, Keane is definitely one that I think we should be looking at, and then I look and I think, like, well, what else would we need there? We just brought in Nathaniel Markelo, the Dutch kid for the 23 side. He's a centre back, play right back. So it's good to see Andre still strengthening that area. But I look and think, what else in that first team? I think we're short on a left back, but can Brendan Galloway do that job now he's back? Will Ronald Koeman look at him in that role in the summer and think he could be Baines' number 2? Or do we go and try and get Chilwell out of Leicester or something like that? I'm just glad Harry Maguire went to Leicester, not us. And then I look around the pitch then, and I genuinely think, if Ross goes, we may need someone like Sigurdsson then for that area. If Romelu stays and we were to get Sandro, I'd still want another one. Yeah. We're still shy of one. If we had Lukaku, Dembele and Sandro to town for us, mate, I don't even think I'll be going to town. But if Rom goes, we need 2 centre forwards. So we'd still be looking and thinking there's still 3 or 4 positions. We know Cuco Martina is probably going to come in as well, isn't he? Let's be honest. So I mean, what are your thoughts on if Keane was to come in and what would you be thinking then? Be what's left to do, kind of thing.
Well, you're right. We still need a left back who's going to transition with Baines over the next season or 2.
Yeah,
I would say. So that's definitely something, but it might not. It might not be. It's not priority. Just right at the moment. Midfield is pretty much sorted.
Yeah.
We need a left winger, I think, as well. definitely think we need a left winger.
Okay. Not Sandro off the left.
I think we need a winger though. I think we need something a little bit different. Someone like Gray from Leicester, just someone who could come off the bench. I know there's people out there shouting Delafeu at me as we speak, but just someone who can bring something a little bit different off the bench or in some games, so it's not the same all the time. So we can play, because don't forget we've got Europe as well, so we'll need different ways of playing. So maybe like someone who can play left and right. So that would, and then there's, I think with John Joe Kenny pushing through and
I mean we've got players there, haven't we?
I think there's some other under 23s, but I don't think there's any other ready. But I think over the course of a season,
Luchman.
Yeah, well, Luchman could be that player. Yeah, Luchman could be that player. Who could be? He could be someone who emerges us through the season. So he could be that player. You're right. But I think.
Well, we need to see more, don't we?
Yeah, and I think someone like maybe like Liam Walsh might emerge over the season. Kieran Dowell might emerge. I'm not sure about Kieran Dowell. I think he
ability, massive.
Oh, he's got ability, but I think
have more.
He's got to be better.
I've just watched them in the 20s, the World Cup, and it's the same wandering down the pitch.
Yeah.
The ability, that left foot's like a wand, and you want to shake him and say, you've got to put you've got to have that running around like Calvert-Lewin does. You know, Calvert-Lewin looked really good up front, like a proper centre forward. Not the kid we see shoved out to the left, but Dowell, he's got to have that aptitude. You know, Ojo, come on, who scored when we went to 23, and was everywhere and looked like a really good player. You think Dowell, you've probably got more ability than him, maybe in your left foot. Certainly, he's a better runner and stuff. You can't wander through games because you're not going to get games in the Premier League. But you're right, there's kids definitely pushing through, but to me I'm still a little bit concerned about the top end of the pitch.
The centre forwards are the obviously the big thing, but I don't know, they're going to have to make a decision about Lukaku at some point, aren't they? When I mean a decision, they're just going to,
because say nothing happens for, what are we, we're in the middle of June, say nothing happens for 6 weeks, and we've got that first, you know, we've Stoke at home, you know, 10 days before, there's nothing still decided. I mean, Rom goes, then how do you then
I think, and listen, I don't know, these things might have already happened, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure.
But I think what needs to happen is they need to sit down. I'm sure the people who are making advances have already made themselves known. I think they just need to sit down. It can't be like the John Stones situation.
No.
2 seasons when at Chelsea. It's got to be, we've got to sit in a room and just say, listen, we want this much for him, and you've got to give us what we want, or in a way, or, you know, a little bit of flex here and there, and we want to know within a week, because we're not dicking about here. He either goes or he stays. The manager's already made it quite clear. Michele's made it quite clear that he wants to keep him for it, even if it's for a year.
Yeah.
And everyone knows where they are. I think Lukaku's even said himself before that he's a professional, and he'll do what he needs to do. Not, you know, he's not, you know, if someone says you're staying, you're staying. If Chelsea are not prepared to pay for the money for him, then that's it. Let's just be very clear about it, because we've got to move on and get our targets if he leaves, and let's not get to that situation where the season started and
that's why I'd like us to go, if it is a Dembele or go and buy him now while Rom's still there. And if we end up with Rom staying, brilliant, we've got others, we've got a real powerful squad. And we can't just have one striker and hope that it works out, because that will unpick what we're trying to do. If we can have 2 or 3 and people look and go, this Everton side's for real, they mean business here, and you know, and you're going through the season and one centre forward's getting pulled, he's on the bench today because you're playing this centre forward. You know, we've had a fella that, fair play to Lukaku, who's played virtually every game. His record's been fantastic at Everton, but I'd still like to have a centre forward who, if he's not pulling his weight, to say Rom's on the bench today because Dembele's playing, that kind of thing. You know,
I'd just like it to be cleared.
It's got to be resolved,
cleared up. You know, we can't have a summer where it's like, is he going, is he staying? Like, I mean, at the moment it's like 70-30 that he's leaving. But at the same time, if Chelsea are not prepared to pay that money, then we need to know that. Or Man United could easily be Man United.
I think at the minute, I think we sold him in the next 2 weeks. I think people would just kind of go, oh yeah, well we knew he was going to go, and kind of get on with it. Once you see him back in the training kit and all that, and you start remembering him again, it then becomes harder to part with him. I think if Everton could, and listen, it's down to, like you just said, the teams who are paying the money, but if we could get it resolved near enough soon, straight away, it's better for everybody, better for him.
Yeah, it is. It's better than everyone.
We'd have no problem. We'd get 40 million for him next summer, no problem.
Yeah,
you're getting without a shadow of a doubt. You put him up and went, he's staying for the year, and then it got to May, and he went like Romelu Lukaku, Everton are prepared to sell him for £40 million. Let the games begin. Teams will come in and go, we'll pay because you're getting them for half back what now, and you're getting proven goals from. I mean, I'm hoping. I don't think it will, but I'm hoping he's looking at us and going, well, all right, these are actually having a little bit of a go here. I criticised them in an interview in February, and I'm seeing the fruits now, the fruition. I don't think he wants to go to Chelsea, but I just mean it might make him just look and go, well, all right, it mightn't be the world's worst thing if I give this one more go here to get me moved next summer. But I want it, like you just said, spot on.
I just think he wants to go to Chelsea.
Oh, he does.
But if Chelsea are not prepared to pay the money for him, then what does that say? You know what I mean? What does that say about how much they want him or how much they need him?
We can all want things.
Exactly.
I was just going to mention Dieter Order again, but
I was going to say
doesn't mean anything.
General fitness.
Yeah. I want that.
Right, we've talked for ages. We didn't expect
to talk about this. This was like a 10-minute fit.
I know,
It's a 40.
Needed to, just to get my heartbeat down to a regular.
Just to normal.
Regular heartbeat. Let us know your thoughts, any comments on players we should be signing or players you expect us to sign, or just in terms of how the business is getting done. Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.